Have you ever stumbled across an album late in the band's career and wondered, how did I miss this? And even more importantly, how could this actually be one of their best albums in decades? That's exactly the question I had when I finally sat down and listened to Mescalero by ZZ Top. Now this album came out back in 2003, but until recently I had never actually heard the whole thing from start to finish. So the big question for the video is simple. Is Mescalero one of the ZZ Top's strongest albums since their classic era? By the end of the video, I'll give you my final answer. Before we dive into the album itself, I want to talk a little bit about my own connection to this record. I actually listened to the album for the very first time while preparing for this video. The reason I decided to review it is because one of the viewers on the channel asked me to continue reviewing the rest of ZZ Top albums after I covered the last album from the 10 album box set, the one you see right here. So in a way, the video exists because of you guys. And I have to say, going to the album, I didn't really know what to expect. By the early 2000s, ZZ Top had already been around for more than 30 years. Bands that last that long sometimes struggle to stay creative. But after hearing Mescalero for the first time, I was honestly surprised. Not only does the album feel energetic, it also sounds like a band that's still experimenting and having fun. Mescalero is the 14th studio album by ZZ Top, released in September of 2003. It also ended up being the band's final release for RCA Records. The album was recorded in 2002 at the band's private studio called Phone Box Recordings in Houston, Texas. Production was handled by guitarist Billy Gibbons, who also wrote most of the songs with the help from engineers Joe Hardy and Gary Moon. Musically, the album still has its foundation in blues rock, but it expands far beyond that. The band experiments with country, Tejano influences, and even some unexpected modern production techniques. One of the most interesting things about the album is the instrumentation. For example, the title track features marimbas played by a father and son duo from Chiapas, Mexico. Other songs incorporate accordion, pedal steel guitar, and harmonica, giving the record a strong southwestern feel. Gibbons once explained the creative philosophy behind the album like this.
Mescalero started with a trip to the Mexican border. Like so many of our records, this particular trip found us sampling the mysterious virtues of mezcal, which is a dangerous cousin to tequila. All of this tied into the Mescalero Indian tribe. That's the colorful and humble beginning of this.
He also described the approach to the album as no holds barred.
We said, gee whiz, no holds barred. Whatever we think will work with ZZ Top. And then we were scratching our heads going, well, what is ZZ Top? At this point, it's safe to say we don't really know. We've still got a cornerstone. We've still got a benchmark of 12-bar blues. After that, anything goes.
And that idea of anything goes really defines the sound of this album. One thing that stands out right away is the diversity of styles. Some songs sound like classic ZZ Top blues rock. Others incorporate Tejano rhythms, Mexican waltz influences, and even elements that feel surprisingly modern for the early 2000s. The guitars have that thick, fuzzy tone that Billy Gibbons was known for. The bass often sounds heavily distorted, creating a gritty atmosphere that really fits the desert imagery of the album. There's also quite a bit of vocal experimentation. On several tracks, like What Would You Do and Lastima, Gibbons uses auto-tune as an audible effect. Now, depending on your taste, that might be something you love or something you hate, but definitely shows that the band was not afraid to try new things. Let's go through the album one song at a time. The album opens with the title track, Mescalero. This is one of the most unique songs on the record. It features those marimbas from the musicians the band met at the Mexican restaurant during the recording sessions. Gibbons actually explained how this happens.
We always had our phases where we tried things out. Mescalero, the title song with this percussion middle section, is a good example of this. We were just recording the song and we had a dinner break at a Mexican restaurant nearby. Around us, different musicians played for the guests. We immediately asked them if they can do it to rock music. That's how they landed on the plate.
The result is a bilingual burst of blues, rock, and Latin percussion. What stood out to me was the combination of sounds. You have thick guitar and bass tones, marimbas in the background, and even some auto-tune in places. It almost feels like a bridge between the band's raw early sound, the distorted textures of the 90s, and the pop production of the early 2000s. And somehow, it actually works. Next up is Two Ways to Play. This one is surprisingly heavy. Gibbons tuned his guitar down a whole step, which gives the track a deep, fuzz-drenched tone. The power chord progression even reminds some people of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Despite the heavier sound, it still feels unmistakably like ZZ Top. It's catchy, the hooks are strong, and Billy throws in some really cool guitar licks throughout the track. Alligator is where things start to get really interesting. The song features a cumbia-style accordion, which is something you almost never hear in rock music. The track has a swampy Gulf Coast vibe, and the unusual instrumentation actually fits surprisingly well with the band's blues roots. This is one of those wild experiments that could have gone wrong, but instead ends up being really catchy. Buck Naked is one of the songs that was used in commercials to promote the album. It's built around a syncopated blues shuffle and has the humorous ZZ Top style of lyric writing. Musically, the track reminded me a lot of the band's sound during the Eliminator era. It feels like classic ZZ Top, but with modern production. And Billy's slide guitar work here is fantastic. Next is Going So Good, which slows things down quite a bit. It's a soulful blues ballad featuring pedal steel guitar from Dan Dugmore. The track actually starts with the sound of beer opening, which is a nice little touch to me. Felt like a return to the band's earlier blues style, something they hadn't done as much in recent years, and honestly, they still do it well. Be So Stupid is definitely one of the stranger songs on the album. It has these looping vocal clips and computer-style rhythms that give it a bit of an electronic feel. In some ways, it reminds me of the band's more experimental moments on Afterburner. And it's weird, but ZZ Top has always had a playful side, so it fits their personality. Peace is notable because Dusty Hill takes the lead vocals here. The song itself is a dirty hard rock track with a really thick guitar tone. At times it almost borders on heavy metal, especially with a big 80s style drum sound. And it's always nice to hear Dusty step up to the microphone.
So you stayed in my house for about a year.
Punkette's Boyfriend is one of the more modern sounding songs on the album. Mixes elements of rap style vocal delivery with heavy guitar riffs. People even compared it to nu metal, which was very popular at that time. I thought it was a fun track, and the lyrics give it a lot of personality. Stack and Paper features something completely new for the band. Billy Gibbons singing in falsetto. It's the first time he ever did that on a ZZ Top record. The vocals were also edited using tape splicing to create a chopped up rhythmic effect. The song has a catchy chorus and Billy's guitar playing is excellent, even if the vocal experiment might not work for everyone. What Would You Do leans heavily into country influences. The auto-tune on the vocals is pretty noticeable, which might sound strange at first. Gibbons even joked that the effect made it sound like Buddy Holly calling from Planet X. Despite that, the song actually is pretty enjoyable. It feels like a modern blend of country and pop. What Is a Kid brings the band back to their classic boogie style. The bass tone from Dusty Hill sounds great here, and Frank Beard delivers some strong drumming. The track almost feels like the band throwing down a challenge to modern rock bands. Like they're saying, we've still got it. Que Lastima is a drinking song with Spanish lyrics. The title translates to What a Pity. The song tells a humorous story about having beer but no women. Musically, it blends mariachi influences with blues rock. I actually enjoyed hearing Billy sing in Spanish. It adds another layer to the album's southwestern atmosphere. Next, we get a cover of the 1966 song Tramp, originally recorded by Lowell Fulson and Jimmy McCracklin. ZZ Top gives the track a heavier modern sound with low-tuned guitars and spoken vocals. It's a cool reinterpretation of an old blues song. Crunchy is an instrumental track with industrial-style drum beats and short guitar riffs. Also has a bit of that Dwayne Eddy-style twang. This one's pretty experimental, but the drum sound really stands out. Thus it feels like a throwback to classic ZZ Top. At the same time, the production gives it a modern edge. I especially like the distorted bass tone near the end of the track. Liquor is one of the most traditional songs on the album. It's a straight blues rocker that could almost fit on Tres Hombres. Lyrics have that classic ZZ Top humor, including the line about someone taking the liquor and leaving the empty can behind.
What the future brings as time.
Finally, the album ends with a hidden cover of As Time Goes By, the famous song from the film Casablanca. Billy recorded the vocals while he had a terrible cold, which actually gave his voice a rough, raspy tone. He described the result as sounding like Louis Armstrong meets Ray Charles. It's an unexpected way to end the album, but it works. Go back to listening to the album for the first time. What did I think? Honestly, I was impressed. I think Mescalero might actually be ZZ Top's best album since their classic period. It's a very well-rounded record. You hear elements from different eras of the band's career, but you also hear new ideas and experiments. If I had one criticism, it would probably be the amount of auto-tune used on some songs. It doesn't ruin the album, but it does stand out in a few places. Other than that, I really like the variety. Every song feels a little different, so the album never gets boring, and because of that, it has great replay value. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think of Mescalero? Do you think it's one of the band's better later albums, or do you prefer their classic material? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of my ZZ Top reviews, make sure you check out the ZZ Top playlist. It should be appearing on your screen right now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss future rock and metal reviews. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.